Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Candid Convos. Today's guest is Chris Mullins. Chris, thank you for joining us. Can you let our listeners know a little bit about you, who you are, and what you do?
Sure. So Chris Mullins, known as the phone sales doctor in the legal industry, and my company is intakeacademy.com. We've been doing coaching and training for law firms for about 30 years now. And hence the name Intake. We started out with just intake, listening to call recordings of prospective clients, and then reviewing them and critiquing them, and then providing them with training to the intake team to help them know what they did right, and then to help them know what the opportunities are, and then kind of like in the selling world, teaching them how to sell themselves in the firm to the prospect. And then I would say maybe over the last 10 years, we moved to intake plus the attorneys and the paralegals, because they deal with clients and the same skills are taught. And some attorneys still convert, so that's the other reason for that too. But that's what we do.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, what would you say are the main skills that either you train people for or you brush up on them? Like, this is what you need to update. You already have it, but maybe you just need to rewind a little bit and build yourself back up again.
Yeah, so for everybody, whether it's intake or paralegal or attorney, it's empathy. Mm-hmm. So empathy is a tough thing for most people. Not everybody's comfortable with it. I just had a couple of students over this past week that said, I got to tell you, they wanted to talk to me privately and they just said, I don't feel empathetic.
So is it safe to say that a good process would be for someone, or a good setup would be for someone to have either a marketing department or a marketing agency going out for leads, nurturing them, trying to convert? No, not trying to convert, because the conversion would be made by the intake people, would be inside the sales systems, right?
Right. Yes.
Is that how you suggest firms and businesses should do their setups, or have you found something that's even better?
Well, I mean, I think if you have a great internal marketing department and they can attract all the leads, and then you can stick with that. If not, you should go to a reputable, good agency, check references and things like that, because there's a lot of them out there, and talk to their clients. So I think you can go that way too. But what's most important is setting up your team. So say your intake team, to be able to do this. You can't like give them this new idea and expect that they're going to go ahead and be able to handle all these outbound calls, plus the inbound calls, plus the chasing of leads and following up. So you have to prepare for all of that instead of just throwing it at them and expecting to get results.
So it has to be very carefully delegated and instructed so that they know in which stage of the process they're in. It's not just like, here's an idea, go develop it.
Well, it's not like that, but that's what most firms do. Here's an idea, go develop it. That's what most firms do. Most firms do not think through the whole, do we have the right team or enough of a team to handle all the leads that are about to come through from the $50,000 per week that we're spending? You know, it's just not on their list until later, when they find out the leads aren't converting. And then the first thing is they wonder about the marketing agency or the marketing department. Versus, well, maybe our team needs to be trained. Maybe we need to help them.
Yeah. I like, my position has always been very similar to that. Like, if you want someone to be successful, you need to set them up for success, and you need to show them how it's done. At least you get rid of that initial, like the first contact, the first moment jitters. It's easier to get over that when you have somebody that's, even if they're not experienced, someone that's there with you, not necessarily holding your hand, but letting you know that you're not alone. And if you don't make it, then there's a way to recover. Then there's a better way to do this. So I agree with you on that. I've always thought proper onboarding is the key to success, no
Yeah.
matter if the person is experienced or not.
Yeah, it all begins with that. It begins with the hiring, it begins with the onboarding. It begins with making sure you're doing the right things to attract the right people, and then making sure you have a system in place, like you're saying, to take care of them. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to look if you're not going to take care of them so that you and they get value.
Mhm. So everything that entails pretty much owning that business, right? You need
Oh,
either you're the one that's doing it, or you have somebody capable on your team, or maybe well, I wouldn't say a coach.
mhm.
I'd say a business owner like yourself. I think I might be just me, but you're a little bit beyond coaching, even if you still perform coaching or offer coaching services to others. I believe that what you're doing is much more specialized. And right now I'm thinking, how do you work with people that are barely setting up versus big teams? Like, what's the difference between one or the other? Or is it still just the same via Zoom?
Yeah, it's all the same. It's 100% the same. Even if we're doing like in-depth consulting and we're not even doing coaching, it's more consulting, looking at the entire process. It's all the same. It's all via Zoom. Some of it's one-on-one, some of it's group. We make sure there's frequent communication with clients. So like every single week, we have drop-in office hours every single week for anybody that has like a 911 or whatever's going on, it's all done virtually, 100%.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
I like the fact that you were way ahead of the curve before the curve even got
I don't
hit.
know. It just happened that way. I have no idea what the date was, or when. I just found freeconferencecall.com and I actually used it all the way up to COVID.
Wow.
The same
Now,
account.
that's a nice thing.
Yeah.
You do handle a lot. Sometimes it's either family matters, sometimes it's personal injury, sometimes it's criminal law. So it can get very dicey, it can get very complex. And then detaching from that, not taking that home, that's a real challenge. I'm wondering, what would you suggest for people that are going through that struggle? What should they do, or what could they do just in order to detach and not bring that home?
Well, I think that you have to take care of yourself and focus on self-care. And most of us it takes a long time for us to really embrace that and get it and stick to it. But you have to do that. You've got to put something in place, whether it's, you're athletic, or you're doing yoga, or you're trying to eat better, or you're drinking more water, or you're doing your steps, or you're just going to a movie once in a week. You got to find a way to do some self-care and stick with it outside of the office. You need to be able to share what happens to you with somebody. So maybe a friend, maybe a best friend, maybe a partner, maybe a therapist. So you need a way to vent what's real to you and what's happening. You can't like pretend that it's not there. You can write about it. You can write about it in a journal, just to get it out and share it with no one. You can record it into a recorder and listen to it over again, or you could just record it to get it out and then put it aside, or you can delete it. So those are the things you have to do. You also have to ask for help.
Mhm.
You can't just expect that because you're in this career and you're in this seat, that means that you don't need help, and you're not supposed to. You do need help for a lot of reasons, but you've got to ask for help. So if you go to like a 911 call center, and they have team members there that have a horrific call, and they never know what kind of call they're going to get either. And so when they get a really horrible call and they're having like a meltdown, that team member, they just raise their hand, and a supervisor will come over. That person will leave their seat. They will go into what they call the quiet room, and the supervisor takes the calls from there, and the agent takes care of themselves in the quiet room. In fact, I wrote about that in one of my books. So my point is, you have to do all these things to take care of yourself. You can't like rely on everybody else to do it, but you also have to ask for help at the same time. And then the managers and owners need to take care of their team.
Well, Chris, it's been it's been very interesting, very informative. There's so much that I can continue asking, but again, being mindful of your time, I got one last question for you.
You keep
If it
saying
wasn't,
that. You keep saying that.
I
This is
know,
the
but
third time you said it, I think. I'm kidding.
Okay, so if it wasn't clear by now, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you and what you can do for them?
Sure, you can go to intakeacademy.com. You can download one of my books. You can just email Chris, Chris, at intakeacademy.com. And, all things conversion, whether it's intake or attorneys, and then all things retention is really the way you could think of it.
Mhm. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for sharing your knowledge and experience and for appearing on the show. Have a fantastic day, everybody.
Okay, so long. Thank you. Bye-bye.